Michael Yee is managing director at Jefferies. He has a buy on Moderna and a $90 price target. We're at $98, Michael, so that price target might need some adjusting, or your stance on the company. But let's kind of go back and remember, this is a company that raised a lot of eyebrows with some of the CEO stock sales and other things. This is their first commercially viable drug, so the deck was stacked against them. Is that why you say this is a home run?
I think there were two things. Great to be here with you, Kelly. One is the platform had never really been proven out before, and there was enormous amounts of skepticism about Moderna's technology, the mRNA platform, and even BioNTech. So the fact that these two guys both came out with spectacular data and huge studies, I think really says something about the platform and is well above everyone's expectations.
So now if you're a Moderna investor, now they had always said that financially speaking, a company like Pfizer had less to benefit from a vaccine than one like Moderna, because again, it's their only horse. Now, though, does it suggest to you that the platform should bear fruit for other drugs in coming years? And even if that's the case, is this a stock you can buy today in anticipation of that?
I think there's going to be two really interesting things to play out that we are positive on in the long term, Kelly. One of those is, what do the other vaccines coming next that are not mRNA technology based, what are those efficacy levels? Are they 80, 85, 87% effective? And what is the thinking around how those will be used? Certainly we'll have a view on the overall potential for this vaccine. And the second is whether that implies the robust efficacy levels that this technology can do for other vaccines or other therapies, I think is hugely important. So both of those things coming together tells you there should be other drugs in the pipeline, and could those drugs and therapies be much better than other technologies to make vaccines?
Yeah. Would you be a seller of Pfizer and especially BioNTech today, which you were seeing trade lower on the Moderna news?
Look, I think both of those companies, meaning BioNTech, Pfizer, and Moderna's technologies, and the vaccine efficacy levels are both very similar. I think both of them will take a leadership and large market share. I do think that the other vaccines that are coming, AstraZeneca, J&J, I would urge people to look at some of those antibody levels. They are lower than some of these mRNA technologies. And if they are meaningfully lower than Moderna, I think the question is, what does that mean for market share for these other guys? So that's going to be the next real big move on the stock, Kelly. I think both of these guys will get approval. I think they're going to launch very nicely. And let's see how those other guys play out with what their efficacies are going to be.
So for people who go, okay, I missed the Pfizer pop, I missed the Moderna pop, you know, what's the next pop that's coming? You know, what do you think kind of the, you know, when we talk about earnings, we always say, like, what's the whisper number? What's kind of the whisper in the community about what we're likely to hear from the rest of the players in the vaccine space now?
That's a great question. Look, I will tell you, if the other players coming, AstraZeneca, J&J, and some of these others, are around 90% or 87, 90%, I think you and I probably both agree that's very close, very much good enough. If these are at 80 to 85%, Kelly, I think the question is, who would use one that's 85% versus 95%? I mean, think about that. You vaccine 100 people and 10 out of 100 more people get COVID. That would be terrible. And what's the price difference going to be? $10, $20? That doesn't make any sense, right? So we can debate what those numbers look like, but I think you and I probably both agree if it's something south of 85%, there's going to be a lot of questions around how to use those.
Yeah, I already had people saying to me, well, why would I get the Pfizer vaccine if I could get the Moderna one? But would you agree with Scott Gottlieb's kind of take on this from this morning that, you know, people aren't really going to have a choice about what they take next year? This is just going to be a matter of, hey, if you have one that's at all effective, like, you just take it.
Right. And I agree in general with that. I think just to be clear, we had some numbers around the capacity. There's hundreds and hundreds of millions that will be available. So if you only had Moderna and Pfizer, there's certainly plenty enough for the United States and for most countries. AstraZeneca, I think if it was 85, there are areas where that could be used, and certainly, you know, areas and regions where that would be amenable. So I appreciate what Scott says. I definitely think that's true, but you could find that the large majority of it will be the mRNA technology ones if those others are materially lower.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.